ever feel like the news about North Korea is on a loop? Missiles and sanctions and, well, more missiles and sanctions.
It's easy to get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah, for sure. But today we're going deeper. We're unpacking this piece called The 10 Most Terrifying Laws of North Korea. But don't worry, this isn't about fear-mongering.
Right.
It's about understanding.
Exactly. We're looking at these laws as kind of a crate to crack.
I like that.
It's about figuring out how this nation operates, what makes it tick, like what are its anxieties, what are its priorities in a world that's so interconnected.
Okay, so let's dive right in, shall we? First up is a big one, and I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with this concept in some way, but it's always more intense in North Korea. Criticizing the government or Kim Jong-un is, well, it's illegal.
Completely.
Now, we've all complained about politicians, right?
Of course, it's practically a national pastime.
Exactly. But in North Korea, it's not just blowing off steam online.
Yeah.
It's thought different.
It's woven into the very fabric of their lives. It's not just about what you say in public. It's those quiet whispers at home, even the jokes you tell.
Wow.
The fact that even imitating Kim Jong-un is off limits really illustrates just how much his image is, sacred.
It's like you're living in a propaganda poster 24/7.
It's a really interesting way to put it.
And this control over what you say, it impacts your everyday life choices too. Like our source mentioned how your career path is determined by the state after you graduate.
It's true. And it harkens back to those days of centrally planned economies.
Like the Soviet Union?
Exactly. But this is like the modern version. It's like individual dreams versus the immediate needs of the state.
Yeah.
And guess which one always comes first?
The state.
Right. There was this story about young people, they're finishing school and then boom, they're shipped off to potato farms because of labor shortages.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They're uprooted, entire lives disrupted.
It's like if you're agonizing over which career path to take based on a BuzzFeed quiz.
Yeah.
And then someone just tells you you're going to be a potato farmer now.
It really highlights this core aspect of the North Korean system, the lack of individual agency. And on top of that, it's all happening behind this digital iron curtain. Did you know that almost 100% of North Koreans can't access the internet as we know it?
Really? So no scrolling through memes, no going down those Wikipedia rabbit holes.
Nope.
I knew it was isolated, but that's wow.
They do have something called Hwangyoung, their own domestic internet.
Right.
It's heavily curated, basically a government-sanctioned version of the web.
So it's like this echo chamber.
In a way, yeah. They've even got their own operating system, Red Star, for places like that one internet cafe in Pyongyang.
Huh. Seems like they go to great lengths to manage the flow of information.
It's definitely a controlled information environment.
Okay, so maybe less terrifying and more like a completely different reality.
It's definitely a unique situation.
Yeah. Which actually brings us to a law that, it sounds totally alien to us.
And it has to do with fire.
Fire?
Yeah, not in the way you'd expect. So picture this. There's a fire in your home, right?
Okay, yeah.
Your first thought, it's not grabbing your phone or even your loved ones. Your obligation is to save the portraits of the Kim dynasty first.
Portrait over people. Come on, that's taking it to a whole other level. Even for North Korea.
It sounds wild, right? But it gives you a glimpse into their social contract, unwavering loyalty, putting the Kim family above everything else, even your own safety.
It's like that story from the article, the 9-year-old girl hailed as a hero for saving portraits from a fire.
Right.
But then you have parents who are punished because they prioritize their kids. That's a tough one.
It's a stark illustration of the choices people face under this kind of system. Imagine the weight of that, the constant fear of making the wrong decision, even in a crisis.
Yeah, it's a lot. So we've talked about saying the wrong thing, working the wrong job, even prioritizing the wrong thing in an emergency. It doesn't stop there, does it?
Not even close.
What about this law about gatherings?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it highlights something many of us take for granted.
Totally.
The freedom to assemble, to connect with others who share your interests. In North Korea, even meeting with a few friends requires permission.
So much for a book club.
Exactly. Every interaction is under scrutiny.
Wow.
It's about stifling dissent before it even starts. No unsanctioned groups, no space for independent thought, control through isolation.
Speaking of control, can we talk about this 3 generations of punishment? It sounds like something out of a dystopian novel.
It does, doesn't it? But this is their reality. And the idea is simple but effective. Commit a crime, and you're not the only one who pays the price. Your parents, your children, even your grandchildren.
So you're not just responsible for you, but your whole family line.
Exactly. Past, present, and future. It's a culture of fear that goes way beyond the individual. Will you risk speaking out if it meant your entire family could face consequences?
It really makes you think about the true meaning of family ties.
For sure.
And this isn't some ancient practice. This came about after World War II, right?
Yeah.
But it's still going on.
It shows how certain ideologies can take root and persist. Makes you wonder, are there any signs of hope in this system? Any quacks where resistance peeks through?
That's what I was thinking. It's easy to get caught up in the terrifying laws and the control, but there are people living their lives in North Korea. So is there room for individuality, for hope?
You might be surprised. Even in the most tightly controlled environments, the human spirit finds a way.
So there is hope. You can't just leave me hanging like that.
Well, the article mentions these underground Christian communities in North Korea.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big deal because religious freedom is, well, non-existent there. We're talking risking it all: freedom, family, even your life for your faith.
It's amazing. That dedication, that need for something more, something beyond the everyday, especially when even owning a Bible could get you in huge trouble. It's a whole other level of faith, you know?
It really is. It shows that even in the toughest situations, the human spirit finds a way to adapt, to find meaning. Good reminder that even with all these strict laws, life goes on. People find ways to connect, to find joy, to just be human.
It's like, have you seen those pictures of plants pushing through concrete?
Yeah.
It's like that. Life, well, human life anyway, finds a way. This deep dive has been something else. We started with these terrifying laws, and don't get me wrong, they are. But we end up somewhere a lot more, well, complicated, I guess. Less about shock value, more about understanding the human side of it all.
Exactly. It's so easy to see North Korea as this caricature, this time capsule. But there are millions of people there with their own hopes and dreams and struggles. And even with everything they're dealing with, they find ways to just live.
It makes you think twice about just skimming the headlines.
Oh, sure.
There's always more to the story. So to everyone listening, as we wrap up this look at North Korea, we want to leave you with this. What surprised you? What will you be thinking about long after this is over? Keep asking those tough questions, keep exploring, and remember that sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones that don't get told enough.